first problem is scarier than it looks. I don't think it's too scary. So, first part I want you to focus on is this part, right? So the rest is just going to be 1. And then let's figure out what 1 plus 2/3 is. 1 plus 2/3, seriously, it's just 1 and 2/3. We're going to change that to improper fraction. That becomes 5/3. That's what I get over here, 5/3. Now, that we've done that, let's focus on this. So everything else stays the same. That's the 1 over 1 plus, and we're going to divide here. I'm going to pull that on the side. It's 1 divided by 5/3, which is the same as 1 times 3/5. So this whole shaded area becomes 3/5. Well, still working on denominator, so now let's work on this. 1 plus 3/5 is just 1 3/5, which we changed to an improper fraction becomes 8 over 5. So now we have 1 over 8 over 5. And that's the same thing as multiplying, right? So 1, let me write it this way. We change the multiplication, 5/8, and we get 5/8. So that's our answer. Take it into parts. 2. So we have 1.5 million, 76% of them are voters. Out of the 76, 42 voted on the recent election. Out of the 42%, 53 voted for the mayor, the winning mayor. So basically, this is what else? 53% of the 42% of the 76% of the 1.5 million is the part that we're interested in. So how many people voted for the winning mayor? Now, I know in class we talked about changing this to a decimal. Right? And then this literally would be the problem, right? Multiply those things. But I want to show you something different maybe. And hopefully, I don't know if any of you caught this. We can also write it like this. Right? Now, that allows me to do it. I don't know if it helps me at all. These two zeros can go away with these two zeros. These two zeros can go away with these two zeros. And these two zeros, sorry, that 1 0 can go away with that 1 0. So I have 53 times 42 times 76 times 15 divided by 10. So that's basically what I'm looking at. Well, let's go through the process. So this would be what? 6, 2 times 5 is 10. And then 12, 21. And I get 2, 2, 2, 6, which I'm going to multiply by 76. 36, 15, 13, 13, 42, 18, 15, 15, 6, 7, 11, 9, 6, 1, and I hope I'm right. And then we multiply by 15. 30, what is this? No, 30, 38, 8, 54, 45, 34, and then 8. I think that's right. 6, 7, 1, 9, 6, 1. So let's add them up. I get 0, I get a 4, I get a 5, I get a 7, I get a 3, I get a 5, and I get a 2. So 2, that's the numerator, and then we're going to divide that by 10, right? Because I have a 10 here left over. So that 0 and that 0 goes away. Final answer, 253,754 people voted for the winning mayor. Okay. 3, yikes. So they want this as a decimal, but I'm going to change everything to a, well, I hope there's an easy way. So that's over 1,000 times 48 over 10 times 25 over 1,000, and then times 16 over 10. Let's see if we can simplify a bunch of things here. So, divided by 2 is 5. Divided by, what is that, 125? Okay, sorry. Let me take that back. No, divided by 5. But divided by 2, sorry. Divided by 2 is 5. Divided by 2, this is 24. Divided by 125 is 1, and 1,000 divided by 125 is 8. Let's see if I can divide anything. 8 divided by 8 is 1. 25 divided by 8 is 3. we can do 5 and 25. 5 divided by 5 is 1. 25 divided by 5 is 5. 10 divided by 2 is 5. 16 divided by 2 is 8. And then this 5 and this 8 can go away. Is there anything else? 3 and 8. Oh, 8 and 1,000. 8 divided by, let's just do it by 2 is 4. Divided by 2 is 500. Divided by 2 again is 2. And that's 250 divided by, sorry. Let me just go back, see what I had. I think I had, oh no. I have this. 8 divided by 2 is 4. 1,000 divided by 2 is 500. 4 divided by 4 is 1. And 500 divided by 4 is 125. But this seems like what I have. So my final answer is 3 over 125. And they want this in a decimal format, which to me, and I'll multiply everything else. Let's see if we can change it to a decimal first of all. So 0, 0, 2 times, which is 250. And then subtract, we get 50, bring another 0 down, which is 500, 0.024. Ugh! And that's the answer, 0.024. I'm going to do it on the calculator to see if I am anywhere remotely correct. Okay, so 0.125 times 4.8 times 0.025 times 1.6. Hey, look at that. I actually did it correct. 0.024, that's the final answer. So, could you have just multiplied the original problem, which was this? You could have. Right? Maybe you saw it that way. And then maybe it's easier for you that way. Okay, so just options. So you could have just multiplied, or you could change it, and then the other way. 4-man relay team ran a race in 3 and 1/5 hour. What was the average team? What was the average running time for each man? Okay, so 3 and 1/5 of an hour. Give the answer in minutes. Okay, first of all, it's 3 hours, and the other one is 1/5 of an hour. 3 hours is 180 minutes, and 1/5 of an hour is 60 divided by 5. Think about that, right? And that would be 12 minutes. So 3 hours and 1/5 of an hour is 180 plus 12, which is 192 minutes. So, and now we divide that, and now it becomes super easy, right? It's just 192 divided by 4, and we figure out how much they each ran per minute, in terms of minutes, sorry. So that's 4 times 4, which is 16, 32, 8. So the average time for each man was 48 minutes. 6. Okay, so it's whatever this is, playground. The area is 240 and 3/4, or you can leave it at 200.75. It's up to you. The width is 40.5. Well, we know that area equals base times height. Let me just write base times height. The area in this case is 240 and 3/4 units squared. The width, so actually they use length and width, right? So let's use length and width. So the length I have no idea, but the width I know, it's 40.5. Oops. Width over here, and this is 40.5. So I gotta find a number that multiplied by 40.5 gives me 240 3/4. So basically, we're dividing both sides by 40.5, right? And the length is the quotient of those two. So let's divide. So 240 3/4. I'm going to change that to a mixed number. 240, sorry, improper fraction. So that's 960 plus 3, 963 over 4. Divide, well, times 40.5. What's 40.5 first of all? It's 81 over 2, right? Well, we're going to use the reciprocal of that, which is 2 over 81. Well, this and this can simplify a little bit. 81 is a multiple of 3, yes, and 9, let's see, this is also, they're both can be divided by 9. So 9 divided by 81 is 9. 963 divided by 9 is going to be 107. And is that it? Can I simplify anything else? No, that's not divisible by 3. So that's it. 107 divided by 18 and whatever that is. And you guys, and if you change that to a mixed number, what are we going to say? 7, 8? Hang on a second. Let's see. No, it's going to be 5 actually. So that's 40. That's going to be a 90, right? And we have 17 left over. So that equals to 5, 17 over 18. So that's the measurement of the length. 7. So again, this year. So okay. So 7 is a little bit different. There was a pumpkin that weighed 2,222 pounds. You want this year's pumpkin to weigh 1 1/3 times as much. Okay, so we're going to multiply that by 1 1/3 to get a bigger pumpkin, right? That's going to be, and then out of that, we're going to take 3/5 to make pie. So it's going to be a huge pie. So you can even write it like this if you want. Well, so we can write 3/5 of the 1 1/3 of 2,222. So this is 3/5. 3 times 1 is 3. 4/3. Is it 1? Yep. Times 2, 2, 2, 2. Can we simplify these things? Yeah, we can simplify this and this. So on the top I get 8, 8, 8 divided by 5. So what do I get there? So that's a 5. It's going to be a 7. It's going to be a 7 again. And is that an 8? Yeah, so that's a 38. It's going to be another 7. No, 3 left over. So it's going to be 1,777 and 3 over 5. That's how much she's going to use for pi. Pounds. Is it pounds? Yeah, pounds. Okay, so number 8. Beginning of the week, his account started with this much. He's always in debt. On Monday morning, he deposited a check. So let me write this. On Tuesday morning, he deposited another check. How much was in the bank after both? Okay, so seriously, you guys can figure out that. Well, I'll just do it. So we can obviously that these two is 526.90. And we subtract. So these two is 526.90. Sorry, these two is 526.90, and we subtract that, right? Let's see how much he has in the bank account, which is, let's see, that's a 2. It's going to be an 8. It's going to be a 1. 1. Still has $511.82. Find 30% of 60. So 30% of 60. And then 15% of 50. Hi. And so 0.3 of 60. And this is 0.15 of 50. And well, this is what? Right? 18. And then here we do 0.15 of 50. Which is 750. And what did they say they want? They multiplied their sum by 1/3. So 18 and 27. 18 plus 7.5 equals 25.5, and then we multiply that by 1/3. So 25.5, which I'm going to write as 25.5 times 1/3. Well, that 1/3 you wouldn't change to a decimal, so it's better to change everything to a fraction. So this is 51 over 2, I'm sorry, times 1/3. Well, 51 is divisible by 3, and that's 17. And we get 17 over 2, or 8.5, whichever one you want. That's your answer. Okay, so here, taxi service. Anytime you get on a taxi, they just by sitting on the taxi and entering the taxi and sitting there, they already charge you $4, even if you hasn't traveled. That's how they, it guarantees that they make some money. So this particular taxi charges $4.50, 20 flat fee, right? So no matter what, he's guaranteed to make $4.20 plus per mile, 80 cents per mile. So now if the total was $6.50, so if you pay $6.50, your ride was $6.50, how many miles did you travel? Well, when the total is $6.50, we have to subtract $4.20, right? Because that's the flat fee. Subtract. So we have 2.30 left. So this was what was charged for the distance he traveled. Well, we're going to divide that by 0.8 to see how far he traveled. Move the decimal one over for both sides, right? That's dividing decimals, so that becomes 223. 216, how many left over? 13 minus 6 is 7. We're going to add a decimal. That's going to be 8, which is 64. That's going to be a 6. So we're going to bring down a 0, and then 8 goes into 60. 7 times, which is 56. 4 left over, another 0. And then that's a 5, right? Because 8 goes into 45 times. So how many miles did he go? 2.875 miles was the distance he traveled. Okay. Three teams play the stock market game. They each start with 150. The winning team is the one with the most money. The team red made 2/3 more money. So the red team, they started with 150,000. They made 2/3 more money, which means times 1 and 2/3, right? That gives us the right answer, the answer right away. Team green, they made 60% more money. So it started with 150,000. And 60% more money, yes, you can find out what 60% is, or you can, that's the same thing as 160%, right? Because it's 100% of their money, their original investment, plus 60%. So let's just leave it like that for now. And the blue team made a total of 280,000. So there's several ways. So you can find what 2/3 of 150,000 is, and then multiply that. Sorry, and then add that to 150. You can find out what 60% of 150,000, and then add that to 150, which is also okay. So it's really up to you. So let's do the red team here. The red team is 150,000. Like I said, you can find out what 2/3 is, and then add that to 150,000, or multiply it by 5 over 3. Okay, so this 150,000, yeah, simplifies, so that becomes 50,000. And 50,000 times 5 is 250,000. That's how much the red team made. The green team, again, it's 150,000 times, and again, 100. You can multiply that 1.1 times 1.6. Okay. Remember, that becomes 1.6, or 16 over 10, which is the fraction equivalent. Okay, so 1.6. So you can multiply 150,000 times 1.6. That's fine. Or 150,000 times 16 over 10, which is the same thing. Or use it as a fraction. And now we multiply, what is this? 15,000 times 16. Oh. So you have choices. Let's see, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. What is it over here? 150,000 times 16. No, 15,000 times 16, sorry. 2, 3, what is that? 39, and then 15,000 at the bottom. 1, 2, 3. 2, 3, 4. And that's 200. So the blue team made 200. The green team made $240,000. The red team made $250,000. Obviously, who won? The blue team. Okay. So again, any of those. Okay. 12, almost done, guys. Most liquids when cooled. So here is a gallon of water. Right, water will increase its volume by 9%. Suppose you have 1/3 of a gallon left. So you have this much water, which is 1/3 of a gallon. Okay, and let's say that gets frozen. That's going to expand very little. Yeah, but when frozen, it's going to go a little higher, right? And let's assume it's frozen. Okay, so what's the volume that you have now? So again, you have 1/3, right? And so if think about this, if this represents all the water that's in there, in that bucket, right? Let's call it 0, okay? And 100%. Right, so if you increase it by, what is it, 9%? Goes up to here. So now that water, that volume, 100% becomes 109%. But 109% of what? Of this 1/3 of a gallon, right? So you can take that. Okay, so you can we can change it to a decimal, which is 1.09. Notice that's a fraction of a decimal. Not too. Or you can change that to this. Either way, whichever way you want, it's fine. So my final answer is going to be 109 over 300 of a gallon, right? Notice that 100 over 300 would be 1/3. So this is a little bit greater than the original value, which is 1/3 of a gallon. Okay, 9% of 1/3. So there is your answer right here. Peter, Paul, and Mary own the company. They each have an amount of shares, so obviously Peter owns the most shares, so no, Mary owns the most shares, so she's like the bigger boss. Peter owns, he'd be the middle boss, and Paul would be the less, and he owns the small boss of the company. Now, if they make 1,500,000, they're going to have to split that. Well, it's going to be proportional to how many shares they own. So one thing that you have to do, oh no, hang on. My battery's dying. Oh yeah. Okay. Now, so it's decide. So the money's going to be split proportionally, right? First, we have to decide. We have to see how many shares are in total. So let me write this: Peter, Paul, Mary. Peter owns 4,050 shares. Paul owns 2,510 shares, and Mary owns 4,200 shares. Well, total shares 10,760 shares. So Peter owns 4,000. Let me write it over here. Out of 10,760. Paul is out of 2,510, out of this much, and Mary, same thing. So write it like that. So if they have, it's just made of profits of 1.5 million. Peter, let's just do Peter. Peter would take his portion, right, and multiply that by 1 million. Okay, I do hope that you have a calculator for this. Let's see if there's anything I can do to make this easier. But that would be how much. So for this one, I'm going to cheat. I don't want to multiply it. Got big numbers. So the one thing I can do is just at least cut a 0 here, cut a 0 here. I could divide that by 2, but I'm not. Simplify. Let's just do 4,050 times 400. 15 was 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, because I took 1 away. That equals to this ridiculous number. And we're going to divide that by 1,076. And we should get its share, which is 564,591. So out of the 1.5 million, oh, and I forgot. And if you round to nearest hundreds, and 8 cents. And that's Peter's shares. Now, another thing you could have done is actually get 4,050 and divide that by 10,760. And if you divide that, you'll get a decimal value, which you could have just used. I'll tell you that equals. And that equals to 0.3763. Well, actually, that's not that great of an idea, but you change to a decimal and you round it to the nearest hundred, which will not give you that much of an accurate value, right? So Peter owns, and that's, right, the portion that Peter owns is 38% of the country, 0.38 or 38%. Right, and then you could have multiplied 38% times 1,500,000 to find this value. But because it's looks like a non-terminating decimal here, 0.38 would not be very accurate. Okay, the actual answer is 0.37639,405, etc. So you want to be as precise as possible. You want to use more decimal places. So, but just to give you an idea, that's what Peter owns, 38%. So now Paul, you would repeat the same process. Okay, you repeat the same process and all right. So again, just for us to get an idea to see what percentage of the company does Paul own. So you divide those. You divide 2,510 divided by 10760, and you get that Paul owns about rounded 23.3233. So 23.33% of the company. And then obviously Mary would own, right, the difference. So you can add Peter's, let me just do Peter again. 4,050 divided by 10,760, that gives us Peter representation. So I'm going to go 37.64, that's how much Peter owns. So percent of the company. So if we add 37.64 plus whatever Paul owns, 23.33. Again, this is rounded. That gives you 60.97 minus 100. It gives us that Mary owns 39.03. And this is not too accurate. Okay, but that's how much she's the main owner of the company. 4,200 divided by 10760. Yeah, actually it's pretty accurate. So that would be. So now we can take these, right, change it to a decimal and multiply all three values times 1.5 million, and you would get how much each of them would get, right, in proportion to what they own. So take 23.33 or 0.2333 times 1.5 million, and then Paul would earn 349,950. Mary, we can see 0.3903 times 1. She would earn 585, and I forgot what the other guy owned, but I'll just give me a second. So we get 0.3764 times 123 equals 564,600, and that should add up to 1.5 million. Okay? All right. Nothing too crazy.